Hello everybody and welcome to CleanTech Water's FY25 conversation. My name is Peter Taylor and I'm joined here today by Chief Executive Officer of CleanTech Water, Mr. Peter Voigt. Today we'll look at the developments in the global water treatment and critical metals markets and discuss how CleanTech is driving its global growth profile across the areas of freshwater, critical metals and mine tailings. Just click across to the cautionary statement for your view and you can read that at your leisure. And I'll move it across here to the first slide. And good morning, Peter. Thank you. The headline here is a year of commercial validation. What did the company prove in FY25 and how does that validation set the stage for growth in FY26?
Thanks, Peter, and thanks for everyone else joining us on the webinar. It's great to have you here. And I guess you're really keen to hear about market activity, but one thing I'd like to do first is I want to talk about what's driving our market activity. Look, the real story in CleanTech is not about isolated projects. It's really about the strength of our technology, which we've proven in 25 to deliver repeatable outcomes. This is what gives us confidence about the scaling opportunities ahead. And I'd like to talk about three angles to this, and these are under the headings of platform, execution, and replication. Let me firstly talk about platform and platform technologies. Our core technologies are now well validated. They work as modular, reusable engines across multiple applications. The value comes from process know-how, control logic, and chemistry that we protect and standardize, and which we can deploy again and again where the needs are greatest. In our case, we're dealing with freshwater conservation, with critical metal recovery, and with tailings management. The second point is execution. We've moved from trials into delivery. Several programs are now in late-stage commissioning and new contracts are under negotiation. This is what we mean by commercial validation. Customers paying for performance and us demonstrating reliability at the sharp end. And the third one is replication. Everything we've built in FY25, the process cycles, the operating envelopes, and the control systems have been designed to be repeatable. That shortens the time to value on our next job and strengthens our pricing power. And that's the real point here. All of this is powered by our proprietary IP, what we call CleanTech IP Inside. It captures the idea that whatever the application, water, metals, tailings, our technology sits at the core of the performance. Which brings us to why F25 matters for FY26. We now have a validated playbook and we're set to scale.
So Peter, that's interesting. You've just introduced this idea of CleanTech IP Inside. On this slide, you're comparing CleanTech to some of the world's most successful companies. What lessons from their IP-driven growth models apply to CleanTech Water?
Well, Peter, I'm sure everyone recognises the first two companies on this slide, and really what sets them apart. It's their IP platform and their business model. Well, obviously we're not in their league, up yet that is. Our platform IP has the same basis. That is, it's scalable, it's reusable, and it's defensible. As we standardise, while protecting process know-how and control logic, scaling into repeatable projects will become faster and more profitable. So today, we're delivering one-off projects. Our strategy is to move to a repeatable approach. And we do that through CleanTech IP Inside, via our core IP platforms, which are the moving bed ion exchange platform, our ATA dewatering platform, and our graphene membrane platform.
So let's unpack the MBIX technology. Peter, what gives this technology the edge over your competition in the market?
Right, Peter, our moving bed technology, as we call it MBIX, is designed to deliver very high recovery and low wastage. So if you search through Google for continuous or moving bed ion exchange technologies, you'll invariably get results that refer to a technology that's called simulated moving bed, or SMB. Now, many companies in the marketplace offer SMB technology, and this technology was originally developed for low volume, high value products such as pharmaceuticals. CleanTech has the IP for a suite of moving bed ion exchange technologies where the ion exchange resins move between the various processes of extraction and recovery. We're not a simulated moving bed, we are a true moving bed, and we're very unique from that perspective. The origins of the MBIX technology is in mining. So the technology was initially developed for gold and uranium extraction. Over the last 25 years, CleanTech has extended the application base to other critical metals and to water treatment, and is now in the exceptional position of leading the world in this technology. Our MBIX platform is the backbone for the products Phosphix, Bionex, CIF, Decelix, Cleanex, and CDLE. The IP envelope includes the way we design the hardware and the controls the way we cycle the resin between the various processes. The outcome is highly selective in operation. It maximizes the recovery of the targets, be that water or metals, while minimizing chemicals and freshwater inputs. And that's the thing that drives the OPEX down and the reliability up. And that's what our customers are looking for.
Thanks, Pete. And on that, let's pivot here into the market activity and start with the freshwater space. This presentation slide points out that demand is outsourcing supply by 2030, and that industrial demand will be more than 1,300 billion cubic meters by 2040. Where does CleanTech fit into this future?
Well, thanks. But look, the world, and especially Europe, is really waking up to the fact that we're destroying our freshwater reservoirs at an ever-increasing rate. We're using freshwater once, we're polluting it, we're sending it down the drain, out of sight, to a wastewater treatment plant, and let them deal with the problem. This approach is not sustainable, and we've got to come up with a better answer. The first line of defence is regulation. So tighten the ability to discharge by imposing lower and lower discharge limits. The second approach is to treat the water for secondary reuse markets, such as irrigation and agriculture. And the third is to find value in the pollutants and instigate recovery and recycling programs around those. We solve these three problems all at once with our MBX technology. We meet the tightening discharge limits, we enable water reuse, and we recover value where possible. For example, phosphate as fertiliser or metal units for reuse. So as an example, our project in Ireland is using Phosphix to remove phosphate from industrial effluents to a very low level to allow environmental discharge. Unlimited phosphate discharge is a serious environmental concern. Eutrophication of rivers and water storages have to be controlled at source. As well as removing phosphate, our technology converts the phosphate into an insoluble mineral called hydroxyapatite, which is a reusable source of phosphate in agriculture. In Belgium, we're in the last phase of designing a wastewater treatment plant to remove sulfate and selenium from a metal refining effluent, again allowing for environmental discharge. The byproduct in this case is gypsum, which can be utilised in agriculture or construction. So these examples, CleanTech IP inside, allows us to tune chemistry and cycles for optimum selectivity and recovery, resulting in better water outcomes and less waste.
Thanks, Peter. Critical metals and elements are a big talking point today. The geopolitical situation appears to be disrupting historical and well-known supply chains. Is this a potential opportunity for CleanTech and the MBIX technology?
Yeah, but certainly. But let's quickly just go back to that platform pedigree that we have. You may remember that I said the MBIX technology was developed and has been used in precious metals and uranium circuits for decades. That continuous countercurrent IX design is the reason we can increase selectivity and control chemistry at steady state. Now, in uranium, we're not proposing new mining methods. We're focusing on the selective recovery and water recycling around existing circuits within the in situ and low-grade uranium leach operations. In the project we see on this slide, our MBIX desorption technology is employed at an in situ leach operation to improve the uranium upgrade and the freshwater reuse. Now, this is a really important market. As nuclear restarts and expansions progress, operators need cleaner water loops and lower reagent and water footprints. Our MBIX technology will give them the lever on both uranium recovery and water balance. Our modular approach means that we employ process trains that can be quickly replicated from one site to the next. Now, on that front, we've also adapted the same technology platform to lithium with our CDLE technology. It's the same CleanTech IP inside logic. Separation first, then a clean handoff to the refinery. The CDLE technology provides the best of all worlds in lithium brine mining. Highest lithium recovery, an upgrade, the lowest chemical and freshwater inputs, and in some circumstances, the lithium can be refined directly to lithium battery product. Our CDLE pilot plant was successfully deployed in Canada and is currently in the process of being commissioned at our next site. We'll provide an update once we're in operations. And lastly, scandium is a perfect proof of our platform's agility. For those of you who have been with us on the journey, you realise that we developed a scandium MBIX flow sheet for Sunrise Energy Metals back in 2016. With the right continuous cycle, control logic, you can selectively capture parts per million scandium from complex HPAL liquors and bleed streams. The combination of hardware design, media selection, eluate chemistry, and steady state control is exactly what we mean by IP inside. We are all really looking forward to the day when Australia is producing and exporting scandium for use in fuel cells, aerospace, and communications.
Peter, the tailings issue is a massive one. There's a circa 223 billion tonnes stored around the world and approximately another 12 billion tonnes added every year. It's happening all around the globe with mining operations underway, probably faster than they've ever have been in our history. With that in mind, what is your outlook for ATA?
Right. This tailings area is the Achilles heel of many mining operations. The water scarcity and tailings storage facilities. We need to solve for both. And the ATA provides a mechanism for rapid dewatering of tailings to a stackable, trafficable material and immediately returns the water for reuse. The ATA process reduces dam risk, it shrinks footprints, and it recovers water. Our current demonstrations in South Africa and Australia are providing us with the data to scale the technology in the very near future. In South Africa, a large gold mining operation is using ATA technology to enhance their paddocking of tailings. The results are impressive, with the tailings dewatering rates increasing considerably, allowing more efficient tailings management plans to be implemented. In Australia, trials are being conducted to establish the operational parameters for a full-scale implementation of ATA at a zinc-lead mine. ATA plus low-energy filtration is being tested to produce a filtered stackable tailing, an outcome that will be lower cost and less energy intensive than conventional high-pressure plate and frame filtration. Our IP inside allows us to condition and dewater tailings quickly to the right moisture target for filtered stackings at commercial mining throughputs and do it very, very cost effectively.
Here's some staggering numbers, a massive market, and one I'm sure within which CleanTech will continue to find opportunities. Moving on now, can you give our audience a quick update on pneumatic and graphene membranes?
Yes, CleanTech is another one of these CleanTech IP inside approaches. So our IP is behind both the graphene coating materials that are used and the membrane manufacturing process. The current generation of membranes are continuing to meet and even exceed the key milestone performances that we've set. So independent testing with South Australian Water and international institutions has demonstrated that our membranes can effectively remove pathogens, virus, bacteria, organics, microplastics. Importantly though, our newest generation of graphene membranes has been specifically engineered to target PFAS, a class of emerging contaminants known as forever chemicals, and these pose one of the most urgent global water challenges we have seen. Early stage testing is producing excellent results. So while this remains an early stage platform, the addressable market for PFAS treatment alone is projected to be around the $10 billion mark by 2030. So the ability to deliver a high throughput, energy efficient, graphene-based membrane solution places CleanTech in a very rare position. We're now actively engaged in industry and institutional partners to advance the commercialisation, and we're seeking co-investment and manufacturing collaboration to scale up production. This represents a significant future revenue stream and a powerful complement to our other platform technologies. For our investors, it represents optionality and a future value lever which potentially has a big global impact.
Moving along to the next slide, Peter, here. We've covered some good ground in this discussion so far. If you were to summarise FY25 in one line, what would that be?
Look, if I had to summarise 25 in a line, it would be commercial validation. We've proven our technology works, and now we're proving the business model scales. Okay, revenue for the year at 12.2 was slightly down on FY24, but that shift reflects our pivot to high value margin risk work. Gross margin improved to 31%, a strong signal that our IP is doing its job in delivering performance, premium pricing, and defensibility. Our statutory loss of 3.6 was a deliberate investment into deepening our IP moat, growing commercial capability, and expanding our global footprint. These results tell the story. CleanTech is evolving from a project delivery firm into a platform-driven IP export business with margin expansion and operating leverage now beginning to flow through.
And 26, Peter, clearly FY25 has had a lot packed into it, and you seem to have an attractive pipeline of work in train. Now, what's the plan for FY26?
Look, Pete, for FY26 and beyond, we're really focusing on three key drivers. Repeatability. In other words, expanding within our existing customers and markets. The second one, licensing and partnering. Converting the huge interest we have into IP-based revenue. And last is scale. Unlocking new channels without material cost-based growth. So our model is designed for growth. The tech is now de-risked. Our markets in critical and metals are all experiencing structural global demand. This is the kind of alignment that long-term investors are looking for. CleanTech is really much, much more than a project company. We're an IP engine for the circular economy, and we're just getting started.
That's right, and I think the clear takeaway here is CleanTech IP inside. It's a famous term, and treating it, using it with CleanTech, I think is resonating quite well. Now scaling and delivering a global impact. I'm going to move on to some questions here, Pete, that we've had come through. And the first one relates to the Sunrise Scandium project. What is the potential benefit to CleanTech Water from this project?
Well, as I mentioned in the slides, Peter, CleanTech was around back in the day when the first of the scandium projects were mooted back in 2016. So it's really the MBIX IP that is driving the scandium extraction and recovery. We're still closely aligned with SRL. We're involved in in upgrading their current studies, and one would expect that, given that SRL, Sunrise Energy Metals, can get themselves to the place of actually building the scandium refinery, then that will be a very good indication that CleanTeQ will be involved in the delivery of the heart of that process.
Thanks, Peter. That was an important one for the beginning of CleanTeQ, and I'm sure many investors are still interested in the progress there. Moving to the next question I've had come through, when do you expect to see significant cash flow from the ATA technology?
Look, the ATA technology is still in demonstration phase, but the scale-ups are occurring quite rapidly. I would expect us to see something in calendar year 26 on a commercial level.
Thank you. Question number 3 has come in from our audience is, what is the current status of the Kamoa-Kakula project?
Right, so as people probably know, Kamoa is an Ivanhoe Mines project, one of the biggest copper mines in the world, and they have significant copper in their tailings. We are now at the moment looking at the leaching side of that program. So the first thing that has to happen is that you have to be able to leach the copper out of the tailings for the technology, for the MBIX technology then to extract, concentrate and purify that copper. So once that first leaching stage is finalised, probably take us another maybe couple of months to get the results of that. If the leaching is successful, we will then move on to integrating it with the MBIX technology and then determine what the techno-economic outcome looks like for that project.
Thank you, Peter. Next question, which is not uncommon in the small cap sector from small cap investors. When will CleanTeQ become cash flow positive? I guess it's an aspirational question.
FY26 is the aim, Peter. Right, that's where we believe that we've got the majority of the pieces on the chessboard in place, and so let's look at FY26 as our target for that.
Thanks, Peter. Another participant here this morning has said, what is your belief, you've probably answered this before, what is your belief of how likely you are to be selected as a partner to the Sunrise project if they ramp up their scandium operations? And what's your revenue ballpark expectation might be for that program?
Look, we're very close to Sunrise in this program, obviously, because of the way that the technology drives the heart of the program. So we have a high level of expectation around that. Look, it's probably not wise to be trying to guess what the bankable feasibility studies pump out. But I guess back in 2016, the area is in the tens of millions of dollars for the actual MBIX process itself.
And Peter, we mentioned the pipeline earlier, which is one for investors to look forward to, and you've covered a fair bit of that in this discussion here today. But this question is, how large is your project pipeline, and what's the near-term conversion rate for that? You are truly a global company now.
Yes, we are. And we're narrowing our aim on our pipeline. We're being much more selective around how we judge whether or not we're going to win a particular project or not. And we're putting a lot of effort, as you can tell from this year, into demonstrating technology to win the project. So that's very high on our agenda. I don't really want to say a whole heap about where we really are in our project pipeline, other than to say that it's substantial, and I think that over the next 6 to 12 months, you'll see the growth within the CleanTeQ revenue model come through.
And probably relating to that, given the global footprint you are now building, possibly a lot of projects around the planet might fit your potential skill set right now, some may be larger. This question says, are you considering strategic partnerships or M&A to accelerate growth?
That's high on our agenda, Peter. Yes, we can't be all things to all men around the globe. What we see ourselves is that here in CleanTech, sitting in Australia, we see our IP export potential is huge, but go-to-market strategies require people on the ground in the regions in which you're operating. So we're spending a lot of time now talking to people around the globe, both in Asia, in Europe, in the Middle East. We're talking about how we can leverage our IP into partnerships that are closely aligned then with end customers. So the answer is yes, you can expect some movement in this front over the next 12 months.
All right, Peter, I think you've given our audience here, both investors and shareholders, a pretty comprehensive overview of the current operations and the outlook for the company. Certainly the term CleanTech IP Inside is something we'll look forward to hearing more of. I'd like to thank our audience for joining us here today, and for you, Chief Executive Officer Peter Voigt of CleanTech Water, for delivering this presentation and discussion. This webinar will be recorded and will be made available to everybody. And if you have any questions we weren't covering today, please email them in to peter@nwrcommunications.com.au, and I'll see that Peter has the opportunity to respond. Thank you very much, Peter, this morning.
Thank you very much, Peter. And thank you to everyone.